let's talk about what happened in September. The two things that were the biggest things that happened in 2022 was the USC Majorette dance team, and of course, Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State. But we're going to start with the USC Majorette dance team. So in September 2022, a viral video of an HBCU-style Majorette dance team at the University of Southern California, posted by student Princess Isis Lang. It went viral, and a lot of HBCU alumni, they were super displeased, and they were arguing that she shouldn't have created a Majorette dance team at all because that's something that is a part of HBCU culture, and we should safeguard it. But Shelby, I want to start with you. How did you feel about Princess starting the USC Majorette dance team called the Cardinal Divas? How did you feel about it, Shelby?
I honestly see both sides. I can see why, HBCU alumni don't agree with her starting the organization on campus, but I also see where she's coming from as well. I mean, I did see a tweet that you retweeted where somebody said that, it's kind of weird the fact that she started the organization at PWI when she could have just went to a HBCU. Okay, that's fine. That is true. But at the end of the day, she didn't. I would have been more upset if she didn't shed light the fact that Majorette dancing did start at an HBCU, but she did. So the fact that she gave light to that, I honestly feel like we kind of need to just back up off of her a little bit. I honestly feel like there's nothing wrong with it.
I feel it. And for me, how I look at it is that, as I saw some of the comments that came at her, I did a YouTube video on HBCU Pulse's YouTube where I talked about, I think we went too far. Because I think the criticism was warranted because I think safeguarding spaces is important. But I felt as if when I saw her cry when Jennifer Hudson gave her like the gifts, I was like, I think that this was a little bit of a weight on her because social media can be heavy. And she didn't intend to go viral. She intended just to do her post with the nice caption and do whatever. She might have been expecting 1,000, 2,000 views, maybe 5,000 views, maybe, and a few retweets. But it became a national story, and that can weigh on you. Everybody's not looking for clout. Everybody's not looking for attention. And I think that people, forget that. But I want to toss to CDK and her ratio, starting with you, CDK, because both of you all were a part of the band, the Blue and Gold Marching Machine at North Carolina A&T. And we know that Majorette dancing is a part of band culture. So starting with you, CDK, how did you feel about this story when it first came out?
HBCU culture is Black culture, right? Always. Black culture is not always HBCU culture. There are certain things that happens only at HBCUs that we need to gatekeep. And the reason her starting right now is just all Black girls that go to her school right now. But if Sarah, Molly, Hannah, and whoever else wants to join next year and is not of Black descent, and they can dance and they don't have any reason to not make the team, then what happens? Because if they don't let them in, then that's going to be discrimination. Then later on down the line, if all these other folks start coming in, and then it's going to make it cool, and then it's going to be watered down, and there's going to be things that spiraled off into control. Now, we don't know if that's going to happen just yet, but if it does happen, then what? Then it's like, oh, dang, we should have just said, oh, boom, we should just keep doing it when we had the chance. But I feel like, it's not about what's going on right now. But if it does happen, then where do we go from there?
That's something that you just said, CDK, that we are so strung up on is things being watered down. I think that's exactly what this whole thing is this. Okay, we're all went to HBCUs, right?
Right.
We love HBCU dance. Me and CDK marching the bands. We love it, right? We don't want, us as HBCU community, of course we want this girl to have a space of Blackness in a predominantly white space. That's why we even went to HBCUs in the first place. It is the fact we want the highest potent of thing to be recognized as the best. Right, we've been around. Me and you, CDK, have been around marching bands, bro. I've been around marching bands, HBCU high step, show style marching bands since 2011. I've seen so many great HBCU dance lines. Almost every style, almost every conference in HBCU bands, and they didn't get as much recognition as that girl did. I think that's what we kind of get jealous about is the fact that, hey, this though it's not as good, it's getting bigger recognition, and then it gets place like, oh, this is better, or these schools are now starting to catch up. When it's like, yo, these schools, man, look, HBCU bands, HBCU dance lines have been doing this since the 60s, since the 30s, right? They've been killing this, doing exactly what that girl was doing. Now, granted, it's great she wants to take that to her school and it shows some Black pride and whatever. That's amazing. But the thing that needs to be lifted up is the thing that's the strongest. That's like you said, it comes from HBCUs. It comes from these hardworking marching bands that kind of make sure they focus on it and kind of keep the culture alive.
I think that that's such a key point, Horatio, is that it got a lot of attention. She went from Twitter to Jennifer Hudson. And then a lot of folks were talking about Majorette dancing because of the USC dance team, when I can assure you, and shout out to those ladies, they're amazing and they can dance, but they ain't dancing like they do at A&T or Alcorn or at Jackson State. They ain't doing it like that. And it's like, that's America's first entryway. It's a Majorette dancing. that was the problem. But I want to toss to this because there was a lot of pushback from PWI graduates, because my whole entire thing that I always say is that they feel as if HBCU alumni are always wrong no matter what. No matter what side of the argument we're on, they're going to go to the polar opposite side. A lot of folks are like, hey, we'll say, listen, the sky is blue. They'll say, no, it's gray. It's gray outside, it's raining, because we're always wrong. So what a lot of people were saying is that, oh, you want to safeguard, Majorette dancing and these different things at HBCUs. One of the things they said was, well, there's so many Black students, but HBCUs can't house them. But I want to bring this up. There are 2 million Black students that are enrolled in college as of this year, as of 2022 and 2023. Only 300,000 go to HBCUs. So they're really dissing us, saying that we don't have the infrastructure to handle that many students. But people don't mention that HBCUs have been underfunded by billions of dollars. And to be honest, a lot of these state governments are breaking laws, not giving us money. So that's what I think of, oh, well, you're safeguarding the culture, but everybody can go to HBCUs. I feel like that's wrong. So that's one of the objections. So I want to ask you, start with you, Shelby, because you've worked in, recruitment as a student, and then about recruitment, and you've recruited so many students to Albany State. How do you feel when people say that?
It kind of sucks, because when you think about it, we get limelighted when, there's housing issues at our HBCUs and things like that, but you don't hear about it, from Georgia State or anything like that. They had housing issues at one point as well. So it's just kind of not fair. But, it's kind of sad to say that it's just to be expected. We know that they are going to make it seem like it's just an HBCU thing, and it's not. It's been a thing for a lot of institutions, not just HBCUs. And I will say, it kind of does affect recruitment. It affects recruitment because of that stigma, and because of that's what people are thinking, they automatically, you have parents and students that are automatically like, well, what about housing? What is that looking like for you all? Instead of, just limelighting everything else that HBCUs bring.
CDK, I want to toss you with it. And for CDK and Horatio, this topic is sensitive because in 2022, we also saw North Carolina A&T fined $2 million for having too many out-of-state students, which was insane. You have the largest HBCU in the country is basically punished for being great, and everybody want to go to North Carolina A&T. So this hits differently for y'all, because not only is North Carolina A&T underfunded as a land grant institution, they taking more money. They taking $2 million off the top of that. So CDK, so how do you feel about people that say, well, hey, we got to start Majorette teams at the white schools because it's not like all the Black students can go to the HBCUs? How do you feel when people say that, CDK?
One thing about recruitment, I think that sometimes we forget how many students, and this might sound crazy, don't go to the school for educational purposes first, right? They might say, oh, I went to A&T because of the band. I went to A&T because I wanted to play football. I went to A&T because I saw they were lit on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? So those are all key pieces in our recruitment, right? In our recruitment process. If we take those things and we take them to PWIs, and people are like, oh, well, I wanted to go to A&T, but over here they have better resources, and over here it's also lit. You know what I'm saying? I hate the whole mini HBCU. I hate that whole argument and thing, because when you put that out there, there are other people that come from other places that may take that in consideration now, where it's like, oh, well, I might be able to go to X, Y, and Z PWI because they do have a little bit of Black culture over there, and it's just like an HBCU, but it's not. That's not, we not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and the thing about it is, the people who are doing that and creating a narrative are our people. And that's my issue. So it's like, and the whole thing about us getting fined $2 million, Horatio's out of state, I'm in state. I know for a fact if I was out of state, I probably wouldn't have got A&T. I ain't gonna lie to you. So at the same time, I had a housing crisis when I was at A&T. It was a situation where I had to find an apartment like a month before school started. But the thing about that is though, like that I sometimes don't like also that we take our issues to social media, and other people that don't go to our schools and don't go to our HBCUs that don't see the whole story, see that and they run with it and don't know other in-house problems that we have or other in-house things that's going on that we are trying to do to fix that. You know what I'm saying? And we just shed light on that portion of the issue. That's another thing that I don't like that we do. I feel like we should start keeping our stuff in-house as much as we can. But with social media, as people that anytime I travel, I'm like, oh, I saw this about NCAT on Twitter. And they don't go to our school. They're only interested in the drama and what else goes on. Because those things happen at PWIs as well. We just don't see that part of it because they don't have a community to talk about that on social media to where other people care about what they have going on.
Definitely, bro. And, I think that I like what you said as far as, the whole thing is like, why do you even go to HBCU, right? I think as an HBCU community, our biggest export can't be the culture of it, right? Because that plays into a mind frame of the woe is me HBCU, and we can't do that because we see that what happened with Deion Sanders, right? So, like, I think that's like you said, if a big reason why people are coming to HBCUs is because of the stuff that the culture aspect. I don't think the stuff that kind of not matters on the back end, but what are you getting from it as well? Besides that, it's not really lifted up and valued as much. So I mean, I think that's put on, like, both of us as far as alumni, graduates, people who were in the band, people who were in these organizations, black led organizations, people that we have to be able to come together and not to say, look, our biggest export is not our culture. It is the women that we're making from these organizations. And, we have to be able to stand financially to be able to, together to be able to, I'm not saying demand what we want, but to be able to create it. I mean, we kind of have to, because we have to get out of this system of being able to kind of like, oh yeah, we're underfunded. Yeah, but it's like we have a big export, and that is not only our culture, but it's the people that we create. It's the pride that we have. It's, what I'm saying, it's the men and women that we have. And that's stronger than the small things of underfunding or the government or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to be strong together as a base. So I really feel like that's how we kind of can cut past that, rather than playing like we're just HBCUs, we don't have enough resources. Because yes, we don't, but look at the people that we're making, man. Look at the people who are coming out of HBCUs, man. Forget all the problems. We really have we have the solution, yo. And it's not just about the culture of HBCUs. Yes, I marched to the band, I loved it. You know what I'm saying? But we have a bigger export, and that is the people that we're making. I feel like if we come together, we really can make a better solution, rather than the opposite, which would be like looking at the problem.
I totally agree. I think that was powerful, Horatio. But I have to bring up this point as well, because it is January, and we know we have a lot of D9 Greek Founders Days that are coming up, and a lot of things that people were saying as well. And they think, you know what, HBCU graduates, we got you here. You can't say nothing about this, because they say that, hey, well, y'all don't safeguard Greek organizations. Y'all let white people in those organizations. Oh, they love saying that. That's like their checkmate move. So Shelby, you are, number one, like, you've worked in recruitment, like as a Holly ambassador at Albany State, but also like you're a woman of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And I know, like, you gotta have a take on this, because they think they're like, checkmate, conversation over. There's white folks in your organization. See you later. So how do you feel when folks say that?
How do I feel about that? I would have to say, it's a very touchy situation. Everybody has their thoughts on, white people joining Greek organizations or, or Divine non-Greek organizations. I just feel like with that, for my organization, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, there are, it's not just white people. It's a whole lot of races that are in these Divine non-Greek organizations. And I feel like at some point, we know what we're founded on. We know who we are. We know our values. We know all of that. So It's okay for me. For me, I'm not speaking for the organization, but it's okay for me personally. I feel like it's okay because, again, when you know how your organization started, you know the roots of all that. I mean, honestly, it's okay for me. And I do see, why people are upset about it, but I don't really feel like it should be that much energy put into it. I don't.
What I'll say, just to piggyback off what you said, just from that legal element of what HBCUs have to deal with and what Black organizations have to deal with, we live in a society where we were able to get some level of equity through the law. But our Black organizations, not just the Greek organizations, but our Black organizations are also tied into that. So if Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated said, oh, you're white, you can't join this sorority, that is a discrimination lawsuit. That is a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. And then on top of that, the organization is going to be dragged through the media. Oh, y'all not letting white people in? Like all these different, like Fox News, Tucker Carlson is going to do a whole monologue about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's the part that people don't understand when they say these insane things. And also, I think that people don't understand the HBCU graduates. Like, man, listen, Albany and Fort Valley go at it all the time. North Carolina, North Carolina, A&T go at it all the time. We're practicing for y'all. Don't let us look at y'all and don't let y'all say something to us, because we're going to get on you. We all going to come together like the Avengers and get on you. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what a lot of people aren't understanding. And that's what a lot of folks didn't understand in the Deion Sanders situation, because I want to end off, this segment by talking about briefly what occurred with Deion Sanders. So Deion Sanders leaves Jackson State and he goes to University of Colorado Boulder. University of Colorado Boulder, 1-11 team. They haven't had a winning season. They've only had 6 winning seasons in 22 years versus Jackson State, coming off an almost undefeated season, because North Carolina Central did beat them. They got them. It was a great game, but North Carolina Central did beat them. And Black folks were outraged, and I believe justifiably so, because of the promises that were made and also how Deion Sanders left. But in the media, as well as amongst folks that are not a part of the HBCU community, and even some alumni that are, but they're friends with him, they were like, oh, well, y'all are wrong. Y'all said this and that. We're not listening to y'all because y'all just happy for him and be grateful. So I want to end off this segment by getting you all's perspective about that whole entire ordeal that happened in early December that really went on through the end of the Celebration Bowl. And now he's officially the coach of University of Colorado Boulder. So Shelby, I want to start with you, like this really quickly. How did you feel about that whole entire situation with Deion Sanders, how he left, and how people reacted to our thoughts about it?
Well, I honestly feel like Deion Sanders has done a lot for Jackson State, and the fact that he is leaving and the school that he decided to go to, honestly, people are upset about it because it's not another HBCU and all that stuff. But that man is doing what's best for his career. That's what he feels like he's doing. So honestly, I feel like, even when he was at even though he's leaving Jackson State, when he was there, he did a lot outside of, just being a football coach. He actually, helped students kind of figure out, different vendors and stuff like that for, the cafeteria and all that. He did a lot of stuff outside of just coaching. So I feel like it's okay for him to say, hey, I'm going to go over here and further my career and coach at a different school. That's not an HBCU. And yes, we can have our opinion on how we feel about it. But I mean, come on, let that man live.
I feel it. CDK, I want to talk to you. So, how'd you feel about the whole situation, where he leaves and it was outrage about it. And, like I was saying, I feel like HBCU alum and how we felt wasn't really factored in, because a lot of people felt the way that Shelby felt. And that's not a wrong way to feel, but how I looked at it, and I'll expound more on it in the next segment. But a lot of folks felt betrayed because he made promises and left after 2 years to go to Colorado doesn't even have a winning culture, and he has a winning culture at Jackson State. So how do you feel about the whole entire situation, CDK?
I'm not mad that he left. I'm mad in the fashion of which he did. And you said after 2 years, when he had a 4-year contract, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had a 4-year contract and he left before his terms was up. The other thing, if he would have came, and he did say this before, he would be a fool if he didn't to look into the other coaching opportunities if it came, right? So he said that from the beginning. My other issue is the message he was preaching versus the results that took place. And leave there, come here, let's build this, let's build that. But you didn't finish what you started because you left with 2 seasons still left on your contract. But that's my biggest issue is the message he was preaching. Not that he went on to another opportunity. And I keep hating this whole thing of the HBCU or Jackson State was a stepping stone. First of all, you have to have a degree to be a head coach at the HBCU. Who gave him a degree to be a head coach at the HBCU? Another HBCU. Exactly. So it's like, I wish we could use the word Jackson State gave him his first opportunity and not make it a stepping stone, because that's already putting things in the media of HBCUs are here, the Power Fives are here, this, that, and the third, which in sports, that's realistically, that's what it is. But I think the verbiage and how we attack and how we approach the situation is what needs to be changed, not necessarily what happened.
I feel like this shows kind of both sides that it's going back to the earlier point that we ourselves have to value our HBCUs as much. Obviously, like you said, Shelby, it's so important that, look, you want to follow your career. You know what I'm saying? We can't, nobody can tell you what to do. Obviously, this was supposed to happen. This is the next step in his life. But like you said, CDK, you what you're preaching and what you're saying isn't lined up. And let's be honest, he sold it. He sold it very well. That his pitch was, hey, look, why not us? HBCUs, you know, we're coming to trying to shake the narrative and change things, and then you leave to go to another school because he was chasing money. And let's just say that, like, that's what it is. You're chasing money, and that's great. But if you understand how powerful you are, himself, Deion Sanders, he understands that he could have created that at Jackson State for as long as he wanted to. But a lot of professional athletes are used to, you know, getting the carrot dangled in their face. Hey, look, come over here. Your whole family moved to Denver. Now you're in Atlanta. Now you're in Seattle, because the white man dangles some money in front of your face, and you don't know the power of yourself so much to whereas you'll just go. And we as Black people have bought into that. I mean, you can see that in this situation. A lot of people saying it's the right thing, and it is the right thing because he chose it. It's not because it's the right thing because that's what he wanted to do. But I'm saying that we could have stood together, as I said, and he could have created all these opportunities that he could have got at Colorado, that he got at Colorado at Jackson State, because that's what the message he was preaching. And it seemed like when he didn't get all that, when he wanted as fast as he wanted, he decided to do, you know, what he wanted to do, which is again a great decision. Because, like you said, it's a lot of money, great, everything for you. But coming from what you said, it didn't seem like you backed that up. So shout out to Deion Sanders. I just thought it was not the decision I would have wanted to make, but that's not my call.
All I will say is this, and I expound more on it later, but all I'll say is this: like, Colorado was not the best job offer. Like, he hopped at the first offer. That was my thing about it. Like, man, you hopped at the first offer? Colorado? They were 1-11 last year. Only 6 winning seasons, not including COVID, in the past 22 years, because they won during COVID. They won, you know what I'm saying? And I hate the whole entire bubble COVID argument, because that's how I try to discredit my boy LeBron. Well, it's a bubble ring, so I'm not going to do that. But we're going to just exclude 2020 and talk about 2000 through 2022. And then for that duration, only 6 winning seasons. They've gone through about 3 head coaches. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you leave a winning culture in Jackson State that was winning before you got there. They had Hall of Famers before you got there. They had Walter Payton before you got there, who was regarded as one of the best running backs in NFL history. And you leave that to go to a school that is at the best mediocre. Like, that's the part that really gets to me. And, you know, the part that I believe that people weren't valuing. And one thing I hate that happens in discussions, and especially disagreements, especially in a social media age, is that we're not considering both sides, because we all have considered the fact that this is a tremendous opportunity and that he's going to get more money. He made a decision for his family and all these different things. We all, in all of our different viewpoints, we've understood that. But what people aren't understanding is that HBCU alum have the right to feel like, man, that man left before the mission was complete. He aborted the mission. Because all the things that he said about, oh, well, I want to make a change. I want to be a change agent. HBCUs are just as good. Let's do something different and build up our HBCUs. And then the second you got some money, the carrot dangled in his face, like how Horatio said, you dip and go to Boulder, Colorado for a 1-11 team, but you're a winner. Okay, I'm be rooting, but we're gonna see what happens.
But that's the great thing about Deion Sanders is so great that he has this paradigm of winning. This dude is a winner. He's gonna go to Colorado and win. So I'm saying if he would have recognized that, you could be there anywhere, yo. So the money isn't the option. Now, granted, I don't know this man's finances. You know what I'm saying? He has his own life. He has his own family to deal with. I understand that, but that's the understanding. It's like, bro, you have it, bro. So wherever you go, it's gonna be there. So it's like, why not just stay right here? Because this is what you're saying. But that's what I'm saying. So it's a difference in what he's saying and the actions. And that's, it's all good. But most people are going to side with him because of the money thing is so big in their lives that they can't attack that. They can't attack $25 million, however much he got. They'd be like, it's a boulder to them. It's a boulder. It's a boulder to them. Literally, they can't see it out. So they go, well, I'm just gonna let it crush me because I love money so much. I just want it so much that they don't. The moral instinct that I would have personally, I don't think that he backed that up based off the words you're saying too, man. These are the words that are coming out your mouth. You know what I'm saying? They're powerful. So most definitely. And just people just are trying to leverage celebrity, to combat underfunding. Like I think that we were so caught up in the moment that we didn't realize that was never gonna happen. Like, and I hear this talking point that if Oprah and Robert Smith and Byron Allen and all these rich athletes and entertainers and business people that are black, if all of them put their money together, they would erase HBCU issues. No, they won't. Like all of them are going to be broke, because that is trillions of dollars in underfunding, and they're worth billions. So if all of them gave $1 billion, yeah, it might be over, but they're going to be working at Geico and McDonald's because they're not going to have no more money, because that's billions of dollars of underfunding of really a century, and the fact that a lot of state governments have been breaking laws on their underfunding. So no, Oprah can't help us. No, Byron Allen can't help us in that way. He's doing HBCU Go, but he can't help us by funding us out of underfunding, because that is money that the state is supposed to give us. So Deion Sanders was never going to do that. And I think that that's the part that people miss, and that is why we were upset. We should sort of be upset at ourselves because of a dependence on the culture of celebrity to sort of uplift us and bring us out of where we're at. I feel like that's a problem as well. But at the same time, he was like, nah, I can do it. I'm Deion Sanders. The only one Deion Sanders. I'm prime time. I'm bringing Travis Hunter to Jackson State. That was my problem with it. And I feel like people weren't understanding that. And the folks like Stephen A. Smith, I love Stephen A. Smith, right? Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp disappointed me, but I got love with Shannon Sharp. But y'all are his friends. So I'm not going to call him my friend on TV. At least I wouldn't. All right. But we're going to go on and close out with that. So I want to get you all social media. This was amazing. So Shubba, let's start with you. Where can we find you on social media?
On Instagram and Twitter at Lotus Love, LLOTUS Love _.
CDK, where can we find you on social media?
At CDK on the mic on all social media platforms. That's Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Horatio, where can we find you on social media? And where can we listen to your podcast?
Yes. You can follow me on all social media at Horatio Radio. That's HORATIORADIO. Since we're on the HBCU platform, I also have an HBCU band podcast, the #1 marching band podcast called Crank Up Pod. We just wrapped up this year because, at the end of the year, we have the Celebration Bowl review coming up. So, yes, we appreciate you guys. And thank you, Randall. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, hey, make sure to listen to the band podcast, man. It's great. It's really great. And band is a part of HBCU culture, so make sure to tap in.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to HBCUPulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.